This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
I was trying to get it how I live. I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, head spin, get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired. I don't get tired. I don't get tired. Get it, get fly. I got 6 jobs.
And we are still not tired on this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. I am your host, Vito Chirco, along to my usual sidekick and broadcast partner in fun. That is the Doc from Doc and Sparty, John Charles Macaroon. And really quick, John, before I introduce you officially or have you talk here, I am not tired, though, because of the Game of Thrones. I'll just leave it at that. We're not going to discuss it this week because I don't watch it, you don't watch it. But it's a good thing because I didn't get tired from that because I know people missed to actually work on Monday of this past week because of watching the series finale of the Game of Thrones.
Heck no, Vito. Get to work.
Get to work. You got to be kidding me. People miss for that.
Make some money.
Things.
Get to work. You're getting love on Twitter all over the place because you're all over. Props to you for going out there and participating in the 586 camp with Tyler Conklin. Very good tight end from the Minnesota Vikings. He's doing great work, showing respect to the place that raised him up. I think he's an alum of L'Anse Creuse North.
Correct. So he's given back to the community that is in Macomb County, and these kids that have been under-recruited in the 586, which is once again Macomb County, and the name of the camp officially, the 586 Showcase, which took place at his alma mater of L'Anse Creuse North, where he was the Macomb County Basketball Player of the Year, took L'Anse Creuse North to a Final Four in high school hoops, and then actually went to Northwood for basketball first, then transferred to Central Michigan and walked on there on the football team. So did a great job there as a tight end at Central Michigan, where he wasn't a tight end for the whole entire time there in Mount Pleasant, but then ended up getting drafted last year by the Minnesota Vikings and had a decent rookie year where he played behind Kyle Rudolph and a lot of talent there in that offense for the Vikings. So didn't get a lot of reps there with the starting unit throughout the season, yet he has a shot to really emerge onto the scene in his second season with Kyle Rudolph currently in a contract impasse. So we'll see what Rudolph's long-term stability is with the Vikes, which would help out Tyler Conklin moving forward.
All right, Vito, the big news of the week. Everybody's talking about it. What's going to happen with the Michigan coaching search? There's 3 names that are emerging earlier this week. The Michigan Wolverines and Ward Manuel, they interviewed Juwan Howard, Ed Cooley from Providence, and to round it out, Laval Jordan from Butler are candidates that have emerged as individuals that could take the job. I think when it was announced earlier in the week, I believe on Tuesday, when it was kind of talked about a lot more, Ed Cooley, I think a lot of people were disappointed, probably because I think as we start, many Michigan fans want a name. They want somebody that's a big name, and I think Michigan fans, by and large, have to taper their expectations. You're not getting a big name. I think you're going to get a candidate of those 3. I think the odds-on favorite right now is probably Ed Cooley, but I think Juwan Howard, if he impresses in the interview, probably has a chance. I think Jordan probably has the least likely shot at getting the job because his last couple seasons at Butler weren't that good. I think even finishing last in the division there. I don't think his stock is as high as it was a couple seasons back.
Laval Jordan should be the low man on the totem pole. Now, the reason why he's even being entertained for this job, Doc, is because of the fact that he was an assistant on Beeline's staff at one point in Ann Arbor. He wouldn't even be considered for the position if it wasn't for that. Now, the other 2 dudes that you mentioned who are the 2 heavily considered candidates in Juwan Howard, an assistant with the Miami Heat since 2013, was a good NBA player for a long, long time, and won a championship or 2 as well. I think a couple of championships there with the Heat towards the end of his career. So he played with LeBron, played with Dwayne Wade, now has learned under Eric Spoelstra, considered one of the best headmen currently in the NBA. And his head boss there in Miami, the team president, is Pat Riley. So Juwan Howard comes with a lot of tutelage from Riley, Spoelstra, and that Miami Heat organization. And a lot of people now have said he should be the next guy coaching Michigan hoops. And these guys are biased dudes as former teammates with the Fab Five, such as Jalen Rose. And Chris Webber has come out and said that much as well, that Juwan Howard should be the guy that fills the vacancy currently there with Michigan. Now, the other dude that you had mentioned, though, is Ed Cooley, who has won now with Providence, has done a pretty solid job over there at Providence, where he has been 162 and 110 in his time with the Friars. And he has led them to multiple appearances in the NCAA tournament, and 4 straight, actually. Now, not this past season, and 5 straight, let me say, tournament appearances that Ed Cooley has guided the Friars to. Now, that was from the 2013-2014 campaign until the 2017-2018 campaign. Now, this past season, they did miss out, but they did finish above 500 in the Big East. And overall record was 18 and 16. So I'm talking about over 500 specifically overall-wise for himself with Providence. And before that, he coached at Fairfield in the MAAC, where in his last 2 seasons, he went 23 and 11 and 25 and 8, and was a regular season champ in the 2010-2011 campaign, his final season at Fairfield. So, Doc, it can be easily said that Ed Cooley has accomplished a good amount of stuff with Providence. Now, they haven't made these deep runs to the Final Four or something like that. So he's not a Billy Donovan. He's not Jay Wright. He's not a Brad Stevens. He's not even close to one of those dudes. But at this point, I think he's the best possible candidate to hire to fill the vacancy left by John Beilein.
Okay, what do you make of those that say, you know what, Michigan and John Beilein did a good job. He obviously ran a clean program, but some, similar, some pundits and some former Michigan athletes are saying, you know what, in essence, John Beilein's biggest weakness was he never really brought in the big-name athlete, the 5-star athlete, the Zion Williamsons, the Jabari Parkers, those that could have made a difference to get Michigan over the hump. Do you feel like Michigan should go in that direction and risk potential? Small risk. Look, you're not going to go out there and get known cheaters. You're not going to get Rick Pitino. That name will never be called. He will not be the Michigan head coach. I think you and I can safely say that. But should Michigan open, maybe just peek at guys that maybe in Chicago, or recruit, in the SEC, recruit guys that maybe 5% risk that they may be shady, or that they may be guys that besmirch the program in the name of winning. Let's just say, for example, there's a 5-star athlete from Chicago that wants to come to Michigan, but needs $1,000 to pay off something that his family maybe got into. Do you do that? Do you get a Juwan Howard and say, you know what, your job is to bring us to the next level? Because I think Michigan fans now are on the verge of going, you know what, we're not winning in football. We got to the ultimate prize twice. We got the opportunity twice, but we suffered failures. And there is this, whether it's real or not, obviously we joke about it. There is this bravado at Michigan. There's this sense of pride in that, hey, Michigan is on the upper echelon of sports. Well, in reality, you're not, but would you be willing to try and get there with one of these coaches that might go out there and recruit a guy that might be a troublemaker? Are you willing to go down that road to win, Vito? Or are you like, look, go get Ed Cooley, go get a guy that's going to be squeaky clean? Or do you stay in-house and be ultra safe with a guy like Saadi Washington or Yaklich?
I would say Michigan is clean. Stay clean. It got you to 2 national title game appearances recently. Guess what? How many have Sparty been to recently? And how many 5-star recruits has Sparty landed with Tom Izzo? Okay? So I'll play the devil's advocate here, but you answer that for me. You're a Sparty guy. How many 5-star recruits have the Spartans gotten, and how many title games have they made now over the last decade? Who's made more title games? Playing it safe, being clean, not getting the 5-star recruits. Michigan has. So Michigan has that over Sparty in its own backyard in terms of the basketball rivalry. So Michigan maybe hasn't won it all, but are any of these coaches out there really going to take them to that level where they win it all? I mean, Beilein was already there, truly at the pinnacle, just missed out on winning a national title game. So can Michigan accomplish that now with their next head man? I don't know. Even if you hire a guy that's going to land maybe more 4 or 5-star recruits than Juwan Howard, who there's no guarantee he's going to do that, by the way. But my pipeline dream for the Michigan next head coach would be to have Ed Cooley. At this point is my pipeline dream. And the reason why I'm describing this as such is because I would then hire Juwan Howard to be my lead assistant and to be the head recruiter. How beautiful would that be? That 1-2 combo. An accomplished head coach, who is a proven head man in the college ranks, followed by Juwan Howard as your lead assistant and top recruiter. Then you could really bring in some recruits, and then you have a veteran head coach who is the top boss on your bench. I would like that combo, and that could actually end up being, contrary to popular belief, a very dynamic duo.
What do you make of Juwan Howard being the head coach? Look, I don't think that Juwan Howard is going to leave the NBA to take an advisor role for recruiting.
But to be the lead assistant, to get paid handsomely. Hey, money talks, baby. He made a lot of money in his NBA career, but I think Michigan could pay him a good chunk of money where it would match or even equate to more money than what he's making currently on the Miami Heat bench. Think about that.
I don't know. Yeah, money talks, but I don't think being an assistant on someone else's staff is going to be enough to take you away from the NBA. Why not just be an assistant? In the NBA, you don't have to do as much work. You're happily paid, and it's just probably an easier lifestyle. So I think that it's going to be either the head coaching job or bust for Juwan Howard. So in terms of Juwan Howard versus Cooley, do you go with the guy that's similar, that knows the program, that has also been to the title game a couple times, that knows the culture, that maybe with the NBA cachet could go out there and recruit bigger names? Because that's going to be the key for anybody, whether it be Cooley, whether it be Jordan, whether it be Juwan Howard. You have to go and get big names. You have to fight for the talent that's in Michigan. You can't let them leave to Duke. You can't let them leave to Carolina, Kentucky. You can't let them leave to Michigan State. If you're going to be the coach at Michigan and have success, you got to get players, and you got to have the ability to coach them up. So with that sense, I think the leading candidate probably should be Juwan Howard because of the tie directly to the NBA. He knows directly what to say to these athletes that will, spark their attention, which is going to be, I know how to get you to the NBA. Period. And when someone is, bright-eyed and they got their future in mind, I do think, honestly, that they'll take Juwan Howard seriously. So I think Juwan Howard probably would be the best name to go out there and try and get the 5-star recruit. You have to get those guys. And for those Michigan fans like yourself that said, stay squeaky clean, look, it really, you got to find a way to kind of do it, in a way that's not going to get you in too much trouble. You can't compete, Vito. If you want to truly win, and the realistic question can be, and I'll put it to you, can you win it all in this day and age without kind of skirting the rule, without kind of the special handshake, without kind of maybe using a veto to kind of give some special privileges? If I was a coach, you'd be my guy that would be like, look, it's not me. Vito's going to go out there.
Yeah, a fall guy.
Yeah, duffel bag's there, Vito. I'm going to turn my head. I'm going to go get this cookie right here. I'm getting kind of hungry. Turn my head. All of a sudden, where'd the duffel bag go?
Yeah, I'm pulling off a grand move with some big money to pull in a recruit.
Hey, I don't know if it's illegal if you kind of go out there and give a handout. And
you didn't see it happen officially.
I don't know what
You're
happened.
eating a cookie looking the other way. Hey, no biggie then on you, right? You're safe.
Can a team like Michigan State, win in this era without skirting the rules just a little bit?
I want to believe so. I think it might be harder, but there are teams that still do it the right way. And, hey, Coach K has never been caught doing it illegally, right? He built up a program, fair and square, I think very fairly. So doing it the right way and cleanly. So I think you can actually build a program in a clean fashion and lead your team to the pinnacle of college hoops, and meaning to a national title game, to a championship as well, which Beeline didn't accomplish. But remember, where were they before? And now I think the topic is about, for the next coach, is who do you believe has the best chance of keeping the recruits already on board, okay, that are coming into Michigan for next season, Doc, and for the next 2-3 years, but also who's going to be that coach that can bring in the 4 5-star guys? If you truly believe that is Juwan Howard, and Juwan Howard much more than Ed Cooley, then you bring in Juwan Howard to be your next head man. You don't go down the route that I did and say you hire a veteran head man who's a little bit accomplished already in Ed Cooley, and you bring Juwan Howard on board as your top assistant to be the lead recruiter. You don't do it that way then. If you truly believe, once again, that Juwan Howard is the answer to keeping as many recruits on board for the next 2-3 seasons at Michigan, but also to bring it in the 4 5-star guys that John Beeline truly wasn't able to bring in on a consistent year-to-year basis. The only thing is, I think, even as a biased Michigan dude at times, that Michigan might have reached its ceiling with John Beeline, getting to 2 title games and not winning. I don't know if Michigan's going to win a title with anybody, and especially of these 3 remaining top candidates.
Well, as we're recording this, Ed Cooley has signed a multi-year extension with Providence. So money talks, baby.
So adios to Ed Cooley. Got the money, and maybe he saw the writing on the wall that he wasn't going to get the position to, and that your man, Juwan Howard, is going to get it ultimately.
Oh, Juwan Howard, maybe.
I think he's coming now.
You think so?
I think so. Well, you can't hire LaVall Jordan. They're not going to hire him.
Yeah.
So the 3 guys that you brought up, unless they hire internally, they're going to hire Juwan Howard and hope that he can bring in those Chicago kids, bring in the 4 5-star guys that maybe John Beeline wasn't able to recruit once again. But then there is the case to be brought up with the X's and O's. Is Juwan Howard going to be good enough with that right off the bat to lead Michigan to the promised land in his first year or two on the job? There is that where I know Sparty Nation, you as a Sparty fan yourself, Doc, would bring up, well, Izzo would love to coach against Juwan Howard because he would have the leg up extremely in the X's and O's matchup between him and Juwan Howard, right? I mean, how would you view it? As a Spartan fan, if Michigan went down the route of hiring Juwan Howard to be its next head coach?
I would be intrigued because I think Juwan might do it. I think Juwan might bring in guys that could potentially be risky. He might be willing to, play the game a little bit. Maybe not to the point of, overt cheating, but play the game a little bit. Some underlying stuff, some special privileges, some maybe hiring of some parents to do some things, especially for some kids that maybe could come to Michigan. So I would find it intriguing, but at this point in time, I think Tom Izzo's got such a head start that obviously I would call this upcoming season a wash because he's got to change over the system. He's got to bring in his guys. It's not going to be as smooth a transition, but I find it fascinating, and this whole search for Michigan, we'll end it with this. Is Michigan really a football school? Do you think Michigan basketball has the resources necessary, has the prestige, has the attention of the AD and the staff there to actually make this, more of a priority, per se? Do you think basketball can get to the level of football in terms of 1A, in terms of priority?
Based on product and accomplishments recently, it should be Michigan basketball number 1, Michigan football number 2. Truly, though, if anything, a little bit is creeped into the territory of Michigan basketball being 1A, Michigan football being 1B, based only on product on the field and accomplishments and success in recent memory over the last 3 to 5 years. So there is that when you talk about Michigan basketball and compare it to Michigan football. Yet, at the end of the day, Michigan football still has much more prestige and tradition and cachet. And that is why they landed a top dog on the market when they landed Jim Harbaugh to be its head coach. I truly think, with that being said, Doc, if this was a Michigan football program, Michigan football would have been able to land a guy of the caliber of Jay Wright. Okay. They would have landed Jay Wright. They would have landed a Billy Donovan-esque coach or Brad Stevens-esque coach. But because Michigan basketball isn't looked at as highly when it comes to its program, because of that, I think it affected Michigan's chances of landing a Jay Wright, a Brad Stevens, and a Billy Donovan.
A couple days ago on our Twitter page, I put a question, and I said, finish this sentence. If Michigan hires Juwan Howard. Here's a couple of the funny responses that I got, and I always want to thank those that interact with us. Follow us on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. You can follow Vito at Vito Jerome. Brian gets in, I'll laugh uncontrollably. The real JC, we will take a step back, but only for a short period of time. JD Sports Tweet, I'll think it's cool. He's coming back to Ann Arbor, and I'll pray that it works out. Detroit Sports Chat, he'll have a tough time winning, but if he gets the opportunity, he should take it. Detroit style will suck for years. Terry P., I can see it now. Antoine Jobert and Gary Grant as assistants. Jay, this won't affect me. JT, Black Sox will be mandatory. And to finish out the responses, some of the good ones there. And thank you all for replying on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. Tony Elias, it will set the program back 10 years. So a mixed bag there. You can see the thread. A lot of people got in. Over 75 responses to the question to finish the sentence regarding Juwan Howard. So he is also controversial as well.
Because he played for the Fab Five. But what bad has he done? Like, people think he's going to play dirty now and recruit in a dirty fashion. Come on, guys. What's your evidence, Doc, to prove that? Or to these people that think he's going to now recruit dirty, bring in these dirty dudes to be his lead assistants? It ain't going to happen. Juwan Howard, I think, plays by the game, man. He is going to recruit in a clean fashion. And this program, I think, will be in fine hands with him leading the program as its head man in the near future, even, and especially the long-term future.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. What do we got in the second half of the podcast? I think we got a couple things to opine about.
Well, how about that commencement speaker coming in and granting now all of these graduating students loan debt and, all of their loans to be paid off. All of that loan debt just to be washed away and go by the wayside so beautifully. Would love for that to have happened to me, and I know a lot of other people would have loved for that to have happened and would love for that to happen when they do indeed graduate. All of that and more in the second half of this week's episode of Two Bad Hombres. And Doc, our fine sponsor of Two Bad Hombres this week and every single week, has been DC Sports. And DC Sports, with this fine location at Lakeside Mall in Sterling Heights, is an authentic memorabilia dealer. And the best one, the premier destination for that very need of many of you guys out there when it comes to authentic memorabilia in the Midwest. It is an extremely smooth-running operation by Steve Grouse, who is a fellow De La Salle alum, and DC Sports, on a very consistent basis, features many autograph signings with many former and current Detroit professional athletes and sports dignitaries, you could say, as well, including Sweet Lou himself. That is Lou Whitaker, coming up June 30th. Once again, at DC Sports' fine location at Lakeside Mall in Sterling Heights. And you can follow DC Sports on Twitter at DC Sports Detroit. And you can find out more about Lou Whitaker's autograph signing and all of the autograph signings that DC Sports will be having in the near and long-term future by checking out its terrific website at DetroitCitySports.com. And back here on Two Bad Hombres and Doc, we had said before the break, a commencement speaker coming through in the clutch and telling the masses there that had gathered among the graduating class that he would be able to pay off all of their loan debt for all of those graduating students. How beautiful is that? And if you want to provide a little bit more background on this story for us, Doc.
Yeah, Vito, a real wild story. Over this past weekend, the Morehouse College had their graduates, had their graduation ceremony, and one of the speakers is a billionaire, and his name is Robert F. Smith. He's a tech billionaire, and he's delivering his speech, and he's smoothly delivering, talking about motivation and success. And, obviously these commencement speeches are really routine in that they discuss about, the secret to success, talking about the college experience and things like that. Well, he drops a bomb, and he says, you know what? Me and my family, we're going to, get a grant, and we're going to pay off the $40 million in student loans for all of you. And it kind of made a bunch of people really shocked, and it made news instantly in that, one of the biggest concerns that young students have when they leave college is the overwhelming amount of debt that they have. And so it's really a struggle for them to potentially meet their success financially because of some debt. Well, I look at it, in a couple ways that, if you can't afford to go to college, maybe you need to take a different route, save up some money, and go into it from a different advantage point. Or if you're going to take out a bunch of loans and borrow a bunch of money, then you better have a job that's going to pay you a boatload of money so that it makes it worthwhile. Now, for me, I got lucky. I went to college in the 90s and went to grad school in the early 2000s. So I was lucky to leave university life with not that much college debt. I mean, I could be honest, I'm paying about a couple $100 a month, but I'm happily paying on it. It afforded me the opportunity to get a degree, to go to grad school. So I looked at it like I was never going to default on it. I was just going to find a way to pay the couple $100 a month. So it wasn't an absorbent amount. I didn't tell my mom, I want to go to California for 4 years and rack up $35,000 a year in debt. The entire amount was roughly that amount, $30,000 to $32,000, I believe, was the entire amount that I borrowed that I could pay back over 30 years. And I figured that was a fair number. And so I looked at it like, okay, if I was going to sign my name to a loan, I was going to pay it back no matter what. And I believe in that. Your word is your bond. You have to be somebody that has at least, a strong word. And I think that is if I say something, I'm going to try my hardest to do it, except for pay you. That part.
Well, yeah, I know that much. Trust me.
Yeah, that part I kind of want to.
I know that part too well.
Yeah, I want to be shady like everybody else. But that's just industry standard. Your field taught me that.
Oh, yeah, that is the industry standard. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Great for me, man.
Yeah,
industry standard.
Yeah.
Love hearing that. Not paying people.
Well, I will say
or at least on time. Paying people eventually, like 3-4 months down the line, something like that.
I spoke to one of your colleagues at Comerica Park, and he was telling me, some of the requirements that he has at the AP. It's like he's got to go there before the game, get quotes, got to stay for the whole game, and then he's got to go in the locker room after the game, all for less than a 3-figure amount. And I'm like, dang.
Oh yeah, and then I get paid, or yeah, you get paid that,
Vito,
little amount, man. It's tough out there. That's why I'm going into PR and marketing. I'm not doing this freelance journalism stuff for the rest of my life because you can't live on that, man, long term. You really can't.
It's less than really minimum wage if you look at the entire hourly amount. So I look at it and I go, dang, journalism.
Right? So you can have fun, right? It's cool what we're doing, but you're not making money through doing that, getting those interviews and writing those stories, man.
Hey, you're listening, you're learning. Friends, don't let friends become journalists. Become something else. Become a podcaster. You make more money.
I wish we made more money doing this too, but go into sales, go into PR and marketing. I think there is some money in PR.
if you were a better salesman, I think you could meet your goals.
Bring in a little bit more money? Sure, sure. Okay. Doc.
But this Robert
Go on,
Smith,
yes.
get back to it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea in theory, okay? But part of me is skeptical because I look at my fault as a person. Imagine if I was 22 and I had $30,000 in debt and it was wiped away and I was counting on paying that bill for $300. You know what I'd do for that for a couple months? Do you think some of these kids, maybe one or two, is going to waste some money on some frivolous things like maybe some, sneakers, or maybe waste some money on a vacation, or maybe just loan a buddy some money for a venture that has no chance of working? See, that's the part that I get the positives. And remember, don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I love that he did this. I love also that he added in his speech, please pay this forward. Please take advantage of this, and let's let the next graduating class continue to feel this success and to have this opportunity not to have to pay student loans. But at the same time, what gets people out of bed? What gets people motivated? You got bills. You know what I mean? If you didn't have bills, Vito, you wouldn't show up here. You would, hang out at home till 2 o'clock on your day off on a Tuesday. But hey, I got to pick up a check this week. And for you showing up, for you taking advantage of the opportunities, you showed up here today, and you showed up here because you got to get paid, right? So you look at it like, I don't want this to become a situation for kids to take advantage of getting something for free, because naturally speaking, as a psychologist, if you give something away for free, people don't value it. And I just hope that a lot of these kids take advantage of it and become really strong contributors to society and give back. Because at the same time, some people, when they're given stuff for free, they take advantage of it, and I don't like that. I feel like I agree with those rich people that say, I'm not leaving my kid a penny, not a single penny. I don't want to ruin them. And some people do get ruined as youngsters because what do they end up doing? Oh, I'm just going to go to Turks and Caicos and film myself and Snapchat myself for 3-4 hours a day and just take photos of myself laying on my tummy all day long.
To where? What did you say?
Turks and Caicos. You don't know what that is?
No, what the hell is that?
I don't know, Vito. I'll get you next. Okay, I've given you the education and the foundation on how to work hard.
Wait, should I know this?
Yeah.
My generation knows this?
Oh,
Is this
yeah.
my generation?
It's the Bahamas. In essence. It's the Bahamas.
Why didn't you just say Bahamas?
Well, Turks and Caicos is a spot. It's a destination.
Oh,
Turks and Caicos.
I think we just refer to it as Bahamas.
No, Vito. Google Turks and Caicos.
Your generation does, I guess.
Yeah, so Google Turks and Caicos. You'll educate yourself. I'll teach you how to live a good life.
Don't do that. Go on, though. Yeah.
So I just don't want these kids to be stifled in terms of ingenuity, because if you give somebody a boatload of money, then it kind of stifles them to say, and that's why I totally disagree with paying McDonald's people $15 an hour, because you don't want people to build a career working at McDonald's. Someone that gets paid $15 an hour really doesn't have a lot of incentive to leave. So
especially when they're younger.
Yeah, you want people to use that job as a job to learn from and then to move on, or to say, I want to own 40 McDonald's, not to stay there and make $15 an hour. You want to give people the opportunity to make a boatload more money. But I give all respect to Robert Smith, and it's great to see somebody that you can look up to, especially youngsters today. They got to have people that talk to them that they look up to. And for Robert Smith, he's a billionaire. Everybody should learn about his story and how he made his money.
Luckily, it wasn't the Robert Smith that played football at Ohio State. I might have a different opinion if that was the case. Anyways, I think this is a grand gesture. I think it's great for the kids. These students that would have had to pay thousands and thousands of dollars off in student loan debt, or it becomes excessive. And even when you start working full time, it's even still tough to pay off the student loan debt. So I really agree. See, I'm more of a newer generation dude because I am a young guy, so I'm a new school dude. And I think, why not make college tuition free? I get what you were saying, and what you were saying with wealthy parents of children not allowing their children to have all this money that they themselves have inherited, and thus they don't want their kids just to earn it freely for not doing anything, and they want their kids to earn it. I agree with that totally. Maybe you give a little bit of money to your kids, and like in their inheritance, and in your will, you leave some money for your kids. But I think consistently, sure, I don't think these wealthy parents should be leaving lavish amounts of money for their kids just to spend freely, because then their kids don't learn anything from that when they're given everything at a very young age. And it sets them up for failure long term. And I think it makes a lot of these kids less competent when it comes to hard work, or less apt to work hardly in their job, in school, and whatever it may be. But in the case of this, in terms of eliminating the student loan debt for all of these graduating students, I think it's a grand gesture. I think it's an extremely a nice initiative taken by this Robert Smith, and I give him props for making this happen because I view myself, John, as a guy that if I ever had enough money, I would love to do this for somebody that is less well off, to pay for their tuition, to pay for their home, to donate money, even more money to charity than I already am with my Churco and Company charity softball game taking place Saturday, August 3rd this summer at Detroit Mercy. So I'd be a guy that would be giving back. I'd be giving my money out, man, doling it out to a lot of nonprofits, to a lot of less well-off people, families, and students at colleges that can't pay for tuition. Because I view it like everybody has the right to education, or should have that right to an education, and hopefully one day to a free education to better themselves for the long term.
Okay, Vito, you would admit freely, and you can be honest, that I've given you some advice that you have used to your success.
I've used some of it. I've not used some of it, too.
Okay.
But yes, 50-50, that is true. You go on.
Now, Robert Smith graduated from Columbia Business School in 1994, and he was planning to pursue a career in marketing until he sat down with John Utendahl, the current Bank of America vice chairman, who was, at the time, the commencement speaker for Robert Smith in his class. And he sat down during a meeting, and John Utendahl, the current Bank of America vice chairman, like I said, he told him, look, you know what? Go into a career in investment banking. And he turned himself into a billionaire. So Robert Smith paid it forward and said, look, I was influenced heavily by a commencement speaker.
By his commencement speaker, yeah.
And I was somebody that really wanted to pay it forward and really feel like I've done something. So he took that advice from somebody, and he became an investment banker and, hey, made himself into a billionaire. So I'm going to tell you this. Go into investment banking.
Yeah, you got to know some math and be a really knowledgeable dude as well. I don't think I'm that smart to be able to go into that and to succeed and make all that money as he did. I don't think I got the brains for it. I don't think you or I, either of us, or our brains collectively have the aptitude to be able to go into investment banking and be able to succeed in investment banking. That would take a lot for me and probably too much for me at this point in my life, even when I'm still young.
Before we get to the final topic, let's play a clip from the commencement speech from Robert Smith.
On behalf of the 8 generations of my family who have been in this country, we're going to put a little fuel in your bus. Now, I've got the alumni over there, and this is a challenge to you alumni. This is my class, 2019. And my family is making a grant to eliminate their student loans.
Yeah, baby.
They start chanting MVP.
Because he is the real MVP, baby.
He is.
It ain't Kevin Durant, ain't Steph Curry, ain't James Harden, ain't any baseball players such as Mike Trout. It is that guy, Robert F. Smith, who is donating all of this money to the Morehouse graduating class of 2019.
All right, final topic. I found it cute, and I think it's positive, and it's hopeful, but I find it odd that a couple out of New York, okay, Vito, one day I hope you find love, and I hope you have
it'll
love.
happen one day, maybe 20, 30 years down the line.
Exactly.
Down the line.
I hope you find love in all the right places, and then you decide that, hey, you know, Doc, I'm going to invite you to a destination wedding. I've been to one now. I drove there. I did not fly. I drove to Florida for a destination wedding, and you know, it's nice weather, beautiful on the beach. Last April, it was a great opportunity.
Time out though, really quick. You're assuming that you're going to be invited to my wedding.
Well, I don't have to be, but I'm kind of hoping, you know, if it's
You know what assumptions make? They make asses out of people too, Doc. Remember that.
Okay, fine.
My wise or sage advice to you.
Okay, I won't assume.
Anyways.
But, you know, you're setting up your wedding, and you're like, we're in New York. Where are we going to go? Are we going to go to the Bahamas? Are we going to go to Florida?
Maybe. Hey.
Are we going to go to South Carolina, California, Hawaii? Where are we going to go get married? Where are we going to go tell our wedding party to go hang out? Detroit. I'd be like,
I can't believe that.
I'd be like, I'm sorry, you know, money's tight.
Yeah, you're really sick, or I just came down with something, or man, my money just all got stolen, man. Somebody hacked into my account. My money's gone.
Money's tight. I don't know if I can make it. You know, I gotta get back to you. When's the deadline?
Yeah, I'll get back to you later. Not really though.
A couple decided that, you know, and kind of read, and it's good PR, I guess, from Detroit.
Oh, really?
It
is good PR for Detroit, definitely.
That Detroit's the hot spot. You know, it's the hip scene to handle business and to have a wedding. If you were living outside of Michigan, would you come to Detroit for a destination wedding?
Hell no. To freeze my ass off? To freeze off my cojones? In the middle of May? I'm still cold. I had a softball game on Monday night where it was freezing cold. A late night game started at 9:35. I had to wear a jacket and a hoodie. Who wants that in their right mind? Now, this couple. Define to me this couple. Do you know what they were all about? What they're like? Are they a hipster couple? I mean, use that.
Similar as that, yeah.
They are, really?
Yeah.
Because I could see a hippie-ass couple, modern-day hippie couple, wanted to come here because Detroit's on the up and up. So it's a cool thing to do. But is it really a destination wedding? Hell no. Not when right now, once again, it's May in spring, full bloom in spring, and the weather still sucks out there. You're still having to wear maybe a spring jacket, maybe even a hoodie. Especially, once again, in my case, this past Monday night for my co-ed softball game, I had to wear a jacket plus a hoodie just to hang out there and be able to stay kind of warm, and I still wasn't warm. So, once again, who in their right mind, unless you're a hipster, I don't think you would ever want to come to Detroit and have that be your destination wedding,
Vito,
specifically.
Shame on you.
And I love Detroit. All about resurrecting it, reinvigorating it. It is on the rise. Still needs some work done, obviously, to its neighborhoods. But anyways, that's a topic for another day, as I love Detroit. All about the 313, baby. Made in Detroit. Not really, though, literally. But, yeah, I'm all about giving back to it, reinvigorating it. I mean, I have in my charity softball game there once again. Saturday, August 3rd, another plug for it. But to have a destination wedding in Motown,
Vito,
would not be having that in the 313, man.
You're looking at this story from, like, the perspective of they're going to have it in May. I mean, yeah, they might, but I'm saying, like, if you were...
So you're saying
doing
anytime, like, in a nice time, in August.
Yeah, July and
you're
August.
Still chancing it. In the late July, you're good. August, late August, I don't know,
Rain.
man.
Yeah, you're risking rain.
Late July, early August, go for it.
Yeah, you're
Go
risking
for it.
rain. Yeah,
Rain or something else, man.
I think that there's a lot of beautiful places in Birmingham, Royal Oak.
Oh, there's beautiful cities. I lived in Berkeley, bordered Royal Oak. I love Royal Oak, man. I know all about those bars over there. O'Toole's and Fifth Ave.
I find it more believable if they were to go to Traverse City on the water. So beautiful. I think a lot of people take advantage of a lot of great spots. Grand Rapids is a great spot.
Yeah.
Up north, Mackinac Island.
Nice.
Yeah.
Once again, depending on what time you go in the year.
Shame on
wedding.
you. Actually, I think that...
well, you actually like it? Come on. You really would do it. You wouldn't do it, John. You would not do it, though.
Look at our Vito and the advice that he gives. I'm going to go to work in PR. I'm going to go to work in PR, but I'm not going to promote the greatest city in the Midwest.
Detroit.
I love Detroit.
I love Detroit.
But I'm not coming for a wedding.
But I want to go for a destination. A destination wedding does not belong in Detroit. Destination wedding and Detroit don't belong in the same sentence. And you know that yourself. And I love Detroit. How many times have I said that now? So I love Detroit. You know that, okay? Everybody else out there should know it, too.
I think you are a hater.
Hey, I go to Comerica Park. There's some people that still are fearful of going to Comerica Park and Ford Field for sporting events, to Little Caesars Arena. You got to be kidding me when you bring up that crap, though.
Okay. Yeah, destination wedding, all kidding aside, it's tough because you got to plan the weather. And
yeah, when are you going to have it?
Yeah.
First and foremost, does it say when they're going to have that wedding?
I think soon. Pretty soon.
Oh, hopefully it's nice though, man. Hopefully not in May. Hopefully it's in June at least. Around my birthday, June 9th. Give me a birthday gift, everybody out there. Shower me with love and gifts, June 9th. Anyways.
Great podcast recording, Vito. Always enjoy the conversation. You can follow Vito on Twitter at Vito Jerome. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. If you agree or disagree with anything that we've said at all today, you can leave a voicemail 24 hours a day, 248-579-8686. I want to thank DC Sports out there at Lakeside Mall. I look forward to June, where I think Lou Whitaker, Sweet Lou, is going to be signing at Lakeside Mall there.
June 30th, and follow our sponsor, DC Sports, on Twitter at DC Sports Detroit. Adios.